The day after Jasmine Crockett's question echoed through the hearing room, it was impossible to ignore. The press clipped the moment. News anchors debated it. Commentators on social media repeated the line over and over, "Who signed it?" Not because the question was new, but because it was finally being asked publicly and without apology. For once, someone had said it plainly. A congresswoman, under oath, facing a wall of bureaucracy, asked what millions of people silently wondered: how does $62 million go missing, and no one is responsible? There was no confusion in her voice. There was no hesitation, only resolve. That resolve became the catalyst for everything that followed. Behind the scenes, records were quietly pulled. Auditors received pressure to hold off. Government staffers suddenly went on leave. Whistleblowers started reaching out to Crockett's office using encrypted apps, asking only for protection and a promise that someone would finally listen. And still, the same word kept surfacing in emails, in phone calls, in hushed conversations: signed. Signed by whom? Crockett's office began pulling procurement files. What they found wasn't a simple accounting error. It was a deliberate tangle of paperwork, layered authorizations, blank signature lines, contracts approved by deputies who no longer worked at the agency, and internal memos that referenced approvals with no corresponding name. The deeper they dug, the murkier it got. Money was transferred to private contractors that didn't exist 6 months prior to the award date. Several had no working phone numbers. Others listed office addresses that turned out to be virtual mailboxes or co-working spaces shared with dozens of other companies. One such company, awarded nearly $18 million, didn't have a single full-time employee listed in public records. Another recipient of $11 million had never filed taxes. These were not companies in good standing. They were vessels, temporary names with real bank accounts. And those accounts received government funds with astonishing ease. But the truly alarming part wasn't just where the money went. It was how easily it got there. The grant program in question had been rushed through under the label of emergency modernization funding. That classification bypassed the usual layers of oversight in the name of speed. Internal memos showed a disturbing pattern: expedite approvals, waive standard review, and move forward without delay. It was a system built to be exploited. And someone had done exactly that. In a second hearing, Crockett zeroed in on a Department of Commerce official whose name appeared adjacent to one of the documents. He wasn't a senior administrator. He wasn't a cabinet appointee. Just a mid-level director. But his signature, small, dated, nearly illegible, appeared on a memo authorizing the release of funds to a shell company. When asked directly if he knew what the company did, or who was behind it, he said no. He said he signed what was on his desk. Crockett leaned forward. Her tone was surgical. You signed a memo for $6.7 million to a company you didn't research. You didn't verify. You didn't even ask. You signed it because someone told you to. The official paused, shifted uncomfortably, then admitted he was under pressure to approve without delay. From whom? The question was met with silence. Again, the hearing room tensed. Cameras zoomed in. And Crockett, undeterred, repeated the only question that mattered. Who told you to sign it? In that moment, what had started as a fiscal investigation became something bigger. A confrontation with the culture of obedience that allows government money to disappear without fingerprints. Signatures without understanding. Authorizations without consequences. Everyone claiming they were just doing their job. No one claiming responsibility. Crockett didn't stop with hearings. Her staff filed formal inquiries with the Inspector General. They flagged inconsistencies to the Government Accountability Office. They subpoenaed email logs, cross-referenced vendor registrations, traced federal wire transfers. And behind all the confusing language and conflicting memos, a pattern emerged. The pattern showed a timeline of approvals that happened in hours, not days, not weeks. Some contracts were reviewed and cleared in less than 40 minutes. Millions of dollars signed off by multiple offices in a single day with no technical review and no post-disbursement verification. This wasn't efficiency. It was evasion disguised as urgency. The justification was always the same: we had to act quickly. But act quickly for what? There was no crisis attached to the spending. No flood. No pandemic. No disaster declaration. Just a vague initiative about modernization, backed by flashy language and political handshakes, and then vanished oversight. Jasmine Crockett took this directly to the floor. Her speech was not about politics or party. It was about the integrity of a government that expects citizens to trust it, while allowing money to disappear without explanation. If a teenager misplaces $20 from a summer job, we ask questions. But when 62 million vanishes from federal books, we're told it's complicated. She didn't let up. When agencies resisted her document requests, she filed subpoenas. When officials deflected during hearings, she cut through their rehearsed answers. When the media moved on to the next scandal, she stayed locked in on this one. Because she understood something fundamental. This wasn't just about theft. It was about permission. The kind that no one says out loud, but everyone feels. Permission to look the other way. Permission to approve without reading. Permission to forget once the money clears. But Crockett refused to forget. In the third round of hearings, more documents were declassified. One in particular showed a signature line that had been redacted in earlier versions. This time, it was visible. The name on the line belonged to a senior deputy undersecretary. Someone with decades of experience, whose office had long operated quietly under multiple administrations. When questioned, he admitted to signing off. But he insisted he had done nothing wrong. The process was followed, he said. The system worked. That statement didn't land the way he hoped. Crockett responded immediately. If this is how the system works, if it allows $62 million to be handed over to ghost companies without one verified delivery, without a single oversight report, without one real inspection, then the system is broken. Or worse, it's working exactly as designed. There was no applause in the room. Only silence. And a recognition that something structural had been exposed. Following that hearing, the story finally broke into the mainstream. Major networks ran headline segments. The New York Times ran an op-ed titled, "Who Signed for the Missing Millions?" Public demand for answers surged. And federal watchdogs were forced to act. The Office of the Inspector General announced a full investigation. Criminal referrals were made to the Department of Justice. And within weeks, 3 officials had quietly resigned. One went off the grid entirely. What Crockett had ignited was not just a political reckoning, it was a bureaucratic audit of trust. And for once, people were watching. Investigative reporters soon discovered that the missing $62 million wasn't an isolated case. It was part of a pattern, years of fast-tracked grants and contracts that used the same shell companies, the same intermediaries, and often, the same bureaucrats. Some of the same names appeared on contracts issued by other agencies. Some of the same vendors had received funds in different states under different programs. And always, the same absence of oversight. It became clear, this wasn't a mistake. It was a method. A method that relied on confusion. On paperwork no one reads. On signatures that can be explained away. And on a public too tired or too distracted to follow the trail. But this time, someone followed it. Jasmine Crockett, a former public defender. A woman used to walking into systems built to fail the people she represented. And now, as a member of Congress, someone who refused to let another lie get quietly filed away. Her investigation resulted in legislative changes. A bipartisan coalition passed a bill requiring full public disclosure of all emergency grant recipients. Another bill required human-readable audits for all grants over $10 million. Shell corporations that had received funds were blacklisted. 2 federal employees were indicted for falsifying procurement reviews. It wasn't everything, but it was something. A start. And it all came back to the moment she sat in a hearing room, looked a witness in the eye, and asked what no one else would. Who signed it? That question pulled on a thread. And when that thread unraveled, it revealed something bigger than missing money. It revealed the cost of silence. It revealed what happens when no one is willing to be responsible. It revealed the value of one person refusing to let go. In a system full of signatures, it only takes one to authorize theft. But it only takes one voice to demand the truth. Jasmine Crockett was that voice. And now, the whole country is listening.